This week, I am sharing with you guys a project that we have had on the back burner around our house for almost a year now. Now, I know that everyone listening can relate to the fact or to the feeling of having overdue projects at your house. And if you can't relate to it, I'm just going to assume that you are lying because I feel like we all have these projects around our house that have just kind of been like lingering for a really, really long time. And for us, this was cleaning out our shed and then with what we cleaned out, doing some changes to our laundry room. So that is what we finally tackled this week. We were blessed with a heat snap in the middle of February. And so we took that opportunity to go out and clean out the shed. So as you can see, we have tons of stuff in here that's just not organized in any way. And a lot of it needed to go away, needed to get out, needed to be donated, because whenever I sold my Etsy shop, we took everything from the shop that we had and just threw it in the barn. And that was partially because we didn't really know what we wanted to do next. We didn't know if I wanted to keep going. We didn't have like a ton of plans. And also I was very pregnant at the time. And so because of that, we were not going to dedicate the time then. And then obviously we had a new baby. And so basically all of that to say, it's been now put off for a year. So we started by just going through everything, trying to get it out of the way, like the stuff that we needed out. And then we knew we wanted to move all of our shelving units. So that means they all had to get emptied in order to move them, because we had this cabinet fixture that we thought we could set up as a work table, and we wanted to set it up in the opposite corner that it was already in. And so we just got everything moved just enough to get the storage units emptied, and so that we could reset up this cabinet unit. Our goal for the first day tackling this project was just to have all of the shelving units where we wanted them to be. This was a really big job, and so by the end of the first day, we were hungry, so of course I had to come in and make some dinner. I do want to share with you guys that I would not consider myself a good cook, really in any way. I am really, really good at following a recipe. And so a lot of the times I follow a recipe, or I will loosely base my meals off a recipe. I share that with you more to be encouraging, not as like a confession, but to be encouraging that if you don't feel like you're a good cook, it's okay to follow recipes. It's okay to meal plan. It's okay to loosely follow recipes. I do that all the time because I'm just not that experienced of a cook yet. I've only been cooking for about 3 years, and so I know that some stuff will come with time, but we're not there yet. So this was a recipe loosely based off of Brie McCoy's sticky hot chicken recipe. I think that's what she called it. So she technically made it on the stove, but I wanted to make it in my Instant Pot because my chicken was not thawed yet. And let me tell you guys, this was so incredibly good. We put hot honey in the Instant Pot, coconut aminos, the chicken, some spices, and it was just, the chicken tasted incredible. Both my husband and I were both like, we have to make this again. And then we paired it, per Brie's recommendation, with coconut rice. So I have never made coconut rice. I've heard of it, but never made it. And it is basically where you just make your rice like you normally would, but instead of adding 2 parts water, you add 1 part water and a can of coconut milk. And I was blown away. This was seriously such a good flavor combination with the chicken, and it was so easy. It added so much flavor to the meal with basically adding no work at all. So this meal was an absolute favorite. We will make it over and over again because it was seriously so incredibly yummy to have that coconut rice with the hot honey chicken, and then we took the juices left over from the Instant Pot and sprinkled them over the chicken, and it was so, so good. the next day, I went out to the barn and started to work on our goal for the second day, which was to get everything in its proper room. So like I mentioned before, this had a laundry room, not renovation, but a laundry room rearrange project attached to it. And so that meant that some stuff from the shed had to go back to the laundry room and some stuff from the shed had to go to the garage. And so the goal of the second day was to get the shelves completely organized and full and get everything back into its proper room. And so that is what we started on. It took a lot of organizing, a lot of really thoughtful. I wanted to be thoughtful in the ways that we put everything away, because I didn't want to have to do this again. So we labeled, we made sure we got rid of stuff that we didn't need. We kept all the stuff that we use regularly close by. We dedicated an entire shelf to gardening because summer's about to come up. So we just made sure that everything was put away well, that we could find it back again, and that we could keep the organization system up throughout the years so we don't have to do this all the time. As you can tell, this project was big and we're not even halfway through it yet. But this week definitely made me realize that these big projects that you sit on for so long, like literally almost a year is how long we've been meaning to do this, really take up a lot of mental space. Once the shed was clean and the laundry room was done and everything was done, I literally just wanted to walk out there and stare at it, because it just felt so good to have that space not be a lingering task that needed to be done. It was clean, it was organized, and especially with summer coming up, it just felt so nice to have that weight lifted off my shoulder. Like, I'm not even thinking about that anymore. That job is done. So that felt really, really good. And I need to remember that moving forward whenever I'm putting off jobs, because they really take up more mental space and energy than I had realized before I did this project. Now we are moving into my laundry room to complete the laundry room section. So first thing I need to point out is that my laundry room is not cute, and I have looked at it and looked at it and looked at it and basically decided that there is no potential of it becoming cute. So when it came to this laundry room project that we had been planning for way too long, as you've learned, I decided that I wanted to go strictly functional in my laundry room. I gave up all hope of it being cute, and I wanted it to be the most functional space for me to do laundry. So you might be thinking, then why would you lay down a rug? And the reason why I wanted to lay down a rug is because that paint in that floor is so crappy and it chips up and it leaves paint chips all over my house. So I wanted to cover as much as possible in the cheapest way I could think of, which was with a really large rug. So I got that laid down. Now, granted, this laundry room was not clean before we started this process. So I first cleaned it and then I laid down my rug. And then I needed to organize all the things that were actually going to stay inside the house and not go back out to the shed. So this mostly just included things that we use on a regular basis. So things like paper towels and diapers, and then we have a little shelf of food storage in our laundry room. This shelf that I am putting diapers on now is actually new. It used to be a table, but I wanted more storage in my laundry room because there was just not enough room for the things I had just mentioned. So we replaced it with a shelf that came from the shed, so we hadn't bought anything. And I just set up a very functional laundry space with storage on that shelf. And then I worked over to my food shelf, which I had previously mentioned we've already had, but it was also in disarray. So I started working on organizing my food shelf as well. Now, several clips back when I first entered the laundry room, you might have seen me bust out a tape measure and measure one of those spaces. And the reason why I did that is because whenever I had my embroidery business, we had this huge 8-foot by 3-foot packing table that was just empty all the time in order to embroider on. And whenever I decided I no longer wanted to do it, I kept the table because I knew that it'd be functional somewhere, but I didn't know where. And it occurred to me that I could put this in my laundry room and use it as a folding table or a place to lay sweaters flat to dry. And ever since I thought of this idea and we have been putting this project off, I have been like, oh my gosh, this is going to be the handiest thing ever. And let me tell you, it is so handy. I am so much happier doing laundry now, which is silly, but it's a task you do all the time. So you might as well make it enjoyable. And even though it's not cute, my life is so much easier now with my laundry room being so much cleaner and set up so efficiently. I hope that the projects in our house this week have encouraged you and inspired you to tackle some of those projects that you might be putting off in your own home that might just make your life so much easier and clear up some mental space. As always, thank you so much for joining us for our Sweet Sunny Days. I'll see you guys next week.